Welcome to the Kingdom Life Unfiltered podcast with Jay and Janine Marino.
Hey, everybody.
I am super excited. Today, we are going to chat a little bit about and share our story of why we travel full time, how we ended up traveling full time. And it is such a God story. So I'm excited to get into it.
Mm.
So let's start with where we started.
When we were born.
No. Okay. So before we traveled full
Okay.
time, we
Yep.
were in Bourbonnais.
Bourbonus for those old
Bourbonnais.
schoolers. That's where the Bears have their practice.
Yes.
Yep.
So it was like out in the country in Illinois. It's like an hour from Chicago. It's probably an hour from like where we grew up.
Hour from everything.
It was an hour from everything. That is true. And we got this house that was kind of our dream house. It had a nice big front porch. It was on 6 acres. It had a willow tree out front. It was like everything I thought I ever wanted. I just was
It
so
was perfect.
excited about that house. We had the twins. We had just had the twins. They
Yep.
were like, what, 6 or 7 months old,
Yep.
and Dominic and Gavin. So we had 4 boys at the time, and we moved out of the house that
Vista
Jay grew up in.
Woodridge. That's right. We
And
moved on the hottest day in the world. It was so hot.
it was
Oh
very
my
hot.
gosh. That was a rough
It's
move.
very humid.
And when we moved there, I remember saying, this is the last time that I am ever moving again. It was that
Yeah.
kind of an experience. I told Janine she could bury me in the backyard. We'll figure out a plot, but I'm not moving. Like, this is it. This is the place. She wanted a front porch, a view, different things. We had a barn. We had a zero turn John Deere
Oh, it's fun. I loved mowing the lawn.
mower. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. What a great spot, man. We had such a great spot. The views and everything was beautiful.
Yeah. And it was a great place to be. Like we loved being there. My grandma lived with us for about a year and a half while we were there, and we took care of her. The twins got into the toddler years, which were crazy, and we tried to garden. We weren't all that good at it. I think the land was kind of rough.
We're gonna blame it on the land. We're gonna blame it on the dirt, the soil.
We had apple trees. So
Hmm.
every other year we had apples. It was beautiful. It really was.
Yeah.
I painted every inch of that house. I painted
Mhm.
the shutters a different color. I stained all the wood. It had like that big thick farmhouse
Trim.
style trim. It was,
Yeah.
it's just really, really beautiful.
Hmm.
And I think it was probably a little bit after or maybe around the time when my grandma was living with us, or right after I started struggling with some autoimmune issues, and just life felt like very full,
Hmm.
just say. And so it started with like a little bit of a minimalist journey. So we started to kind of purge. When we got this house, it was a big house. We had a big basement. We had, big barn. So our parents gave us like all this stuff. Like everybody was always giving us stuff because we had space for it. And so we got to the point where we're like, we have a lot of stuff. And so we started purging stuff and kind of, I was reading about minimalism. And around the same time, we started grew up camping. So I like love camping. And so we had a tent. We went tent camping. Jay was like, I'm never doing that again.
All right. So here's the thing. We were in Kentucky at these caves, which apparently like the largest cavernous system is like in Kentucky. It's
The
it's
Mammoth
the
Cave
Mammoth Cave.
National Park.
Wild,
It
dude.
was very cool.
Anyway, we go there and we set up the tent, and it starts to rain, and I don't know, we had a rain cover on it or not, or what would the deal was with it. I'm not sure, but I remember my pillow was laying in a little bit of a puddle, and then I was getting like this Chinese water torture like drip on my head, and that was the moment where I was like, this is the last time that we are going to go camping. I like to shut things off once there's a thing. I'm like, that's the end.
That's it.
We get a bad taste and I spit it out and I'm like, I'm never gonna eat that again. So yeah, the tent camping was that was quite the experience.
Yeah. So then I convinced him to get a pop-up camper.
Yes. So we got
So
like a 1981 Jayco. Was it
I think
Jayco?
it was a Jayco.
Sun something. We bought it like in the alleyway on Ashland in Chicago. And then like it was one of those that you have to like crank up like the sides of it. It was a pop-up. So you're
Yeah.
like pulling it behind, it's flat, and then it raises the roof, and then you got the canvas sides all the way around. And that thing was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You could pull it with the van.
Oh,
So
it was
you would
nice.
just load everybody in the van, bring it to the next spot. So that was cool. So when I decided I was done with that, it was about 89 degrees with 120% humidity. And I'm trying to do the thing and I'm just pouring sweat, just trying to get the flies and the bees, trying to get the pop-up thing up. And it was like kind of damaged. We bought it like for cheap on like Craigslist. And it was just kind of wasn't really, it was a little wonky. It was like wasn't quite done right.
It was so cute though.
It was cute. And
I table for it. It was I loved it.
it slept all of us. So like
It did.
the bump outs would go and then you could have enough people here and enough people there. But it was just like there was Velcro connected to connect the canvas. So like at night your pillow would just
I
leave
forgot.
the camper, right? It would just leave the camper. You'd be like, where's my pillow? And it's like, oh, it's downstairs in the mud. It's in the mud on the ground. That's fine. Um, so yeah, that's when I think that was the moment where I was like, let's sell this.
Well, and so in the meantime, I had been like dropping hints for years about traveling full time in an RV. It
Yeah.
was like my dream. I was like, I
Mhm.
want to see all the national parks. I want to hike everywhere. I want to go all over. And I figured, like after the kids are out of the house, like I would love to do that. And he was always like, no way. Like, I hate traveling. And he
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
There were times like we would go. So we were in Illinois, his dad lived in Florida.
Yeah.
And I would plan a trip every
Yeah.
year around the same time to go to Florida. And every year he would be like, I'm not going. And
That's
I'd be
it. I
like,
like
cool, I'm going. Like, I'm gonna go. And one time when the twins were newborn, they were
yeah.
like, so they're born in November. We usually go in like February, March. I got my cousin to come. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, well, you don't have to come. My cousin will come with, and you can fly down later and just stay for the weekend because he didn't want to miss work, even though he was the boss.
Mhm.
And then he, at the last minute, would decide, and he did this that time too, that he was coming.
I'm gonna go then. I can't let them go down there by themselves, fending for
Fine.
themselves. There's no way. I had to make sure everybody was okay. And I had to drive also because yeah, I could
I'm
not
a very
imagine.
good driver.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was like our travel experience. I always wanted to travel. He never wanted to travel. And it was kind of like we were sort of butting heads at one point in time. And so around that time, I started feeling like this is kind of a problem. And it's actually part of the reason we broke up in high school. It's
Yeah.
because I wanted to travel, which we talked about that last time, and he wanted to like
Do my
steady,
business.
stable
Yeah.
career. And so I just started praying about it. And I was like, all
Hmm.
right, God, you got to change my heart or change his. Like somebody's got to give here because we are like at opposite ends of the spectrum. And at that point I was okay with him taking the desire away from me because I was like, I really want to do this. I really want to travel. And he really didn't. And so I was like, at some point our kids are going to be gone and I'm going to be gone and he's just going to be there like sitting around. I don't know. And so anyhow, I that was around the time that he was done with the
Yeah.
pop up.
So
And
she
I was like,
teamed up with God. They teamed up on me and decided to go change my heart. Okay.
so what happened was we bought my dad's motorhome.
Oh yeah. He had a beautiful it was a hurricane. It was called a hurricane and had a V8 Chevy workhorse V8. And it was old school, but it was built with like household grade material. Like it
It
was
was
pretty
nice.
sturdy
Yeah.
motorhome for back then. I don't even remember what year it was, but it was older, but it was like carpeted and stuff, you know. It kind of felt like you were like at grandma's house a little bit
It did.
inside, you know, but
And so
it was a cool
at the
motorhome.
time we had Knox. So now we have five boys. And so we get into this motorhome and it's fine. We're just camping in it, right?
Yeah.
So we have to like make beds every single night. So we had to turn everything into a bed,
Yeah.
plus had a pack and play
Yeah.
every night. And
Right.
so we planned a trip to go to Florida to visit his dad, like
Yep.
we always do.
Yep.
And we brought the motorhome
Yep.
and it was a 3 week trip.
Yep.
And on the way home, Jay says, let's sell the house.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was so here my biggest issue I think was I don't know, leaving all your stuff. The nice thing about the motorhome is it feels like home. You know, even if you're parked at a Walmart or you're parked at a Cracker Barrel or you're parked at a campground, you know, at nighttime comes, the shades go up and you just feel like we're at home. I mean, you don't see the outside, you just feel at home. So I had that feeling and I remember because, like, dude, in Illinois, it gets cold. It gets cold. And so, like, the cold and all that, like, everybody shuts down. It's gray. It gets dark at like 4:30. You know, everybody's a little grumpy. You know, there's nothing to do but work and then like eat fattening foods. So there's like, you know, but when we went and we brought the motor home to Florida, we went down for like a month or 3 weeks or
I
what
think it
we
was
went for
3 weeks the
a long
first time.
time and it was like I had 3 more weeks of life that like it felt like was taken away from me in Illinois that now we have like the sun is on me, we're outside walking around, like people are like alive, there's like vitamin D, you know, there was just this feeling and I have my house with me and
Everywhere.
we're going to
Too.
the beach and so
Yeah.
you could roll up to the beach because like with 4 kids,
We had five.
like what 5 kids, yeah, with any amount of kids you've got to load all of your beach crap in the car and then bring it to the beach, right? And then you have all, you know, with this, we had it with it. So we just drove to the beach, had our beach gear, and then the motorhome, it's got a hose on the outside. You're hosing the feet off, all the sand toys, put them all back in. I'm like, I can get on board with this. We had like a cupboard of like beach stuff and outdoor gear and we, you know, you could go anywhere with this, have your stuff with you. And that's when I realized that I didn't need all of this stuff
Yeah.
because I was happy with like minimal things. I realized, oh, all that stuff, I've got all this stuff at home and it's not necessary. And even the Bible talks about this, you know, all of your things and all that, like weighing you down. And so it was just such a freeing experience.
Yeah, it was. And I think too, we were kind of getting a little weary in Illinois. We're like, we got all this land. We want to be outside all the time. But it was like, mosquitoes or winter or rain all day. And so the RV life was amazing. I mean,
It was refreshing.
not only was it this much more minimalist life, but there was also this amazing community. And so it was so different. It was like you would be at the campground, there'd be all these people here, especially in Florida, like in the winter. And we would be like, let's have a potluck. And everyone would walk back to their house and make something and walk it back over. And nobody had plans because no one had soccer practice or karate or dance or, nobody was like busy, like you could actually just like go knock on someone's door or, I mean, yeah, like people worked here and there or, had a little bit of outings here and there as a family, but like it was almost like an old school community. So I don't know, it just was such a great year. We had so much fun. And I don't know, I like loved that time.
We
Um,
made so many great friends
like
and
lifelong friends
lifelong
too.
friends, and they all have a similar mindset, and I think that really, I mean, dude, you go to the cul-de-sac, like I mean, I had lived in a house previously for like 30 years, and like I didn't even know the lady's name across the street from me, like didn't even know
Yeah.
her name. So it's like, you have these people around you in your community, like at home, and you may not even know who they are. But then when you were out there, like, oh, well, what do you do? And then like you're talking and you realize everybody's entrepreneurial mindset. They've got businesses, they're doing this, they're doing that. You're like, oh, tell me how you do that. And everybody's homeschooling, right?
Yeah.
Like we haven't even really touched on that much. Like,
Right.
and
Well,
that's
we had
like
been homeschooling already
we had been
and working from
homeschooling
home
and
already. So that kind
working
of worked.
working remote. So we
Yeah.
were able to pick up our stuff. And it's like as long as we have internet and you got your phones and your laptops, you're pretty much good to go. And so we're talking to all these other business owners and everything. It's like, oh, how do you do this and you do that? And with homeschool, just like chit chatting about this.
Yeah.
And then all the kids had their communities of other kids who are going through similar things, that live the similar lifestyle, and it was just great to have that community and be like, oh, we're not the only ones who decided to like just leave and motorhome
Yeah.
around, and so
Go upstream.
but yeah, it was great.
So yeah, it was a great time. It did come, the season kind of came to an end. We were, in a situation with our oldest who really needed to be at home, just really needed like love and structure and just, so we were like, okay, well, where do you want to live? And so that's how we ended up in Colorado. So we ended up going from, full-time RV life to Fort Collins. And so we picked Fort Collins kind of like we asked people recommendations. We prayed about it. We're like, where should we go? Where should we be? And so that's how we ended up in Colorado. And so we were in Colorado for 3 years. It was also around the same time as COVID. So just to give you some perspective, we were quarantined at an RV park in Florida
Mm-hmm.
for COVID. And then after that was when it was like, okay, like we're going to settle down, we're going to get a house. And so we
Well, don't forget,
rented.
we sold our motorhome and bought a brand new one, and that's what we were traveling around in.
Right. Yes.
So
We did what
we
that
yeah,
fit all of us
that fit.
bunks. Yeah.
We
And we
did,
stayed in
yeah,
Lincoln because I kept telling him, I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to do this
yeah,
full time, making beds every single night. And he was
yeah,
like, we'll be fine. We made it 7 days
yeah,
and we bought a new one.
yeah.
So we ended up renting that out while we were in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
which Jay loved. He said it was like selling magic.
It is fun, yeah, definitely renting out the motorhome. So it did take a little bit of abuse by renters taking it all over
Yeah.
the country, but it was fun to be able to set people out on their, they're going to go on vacation. It's so much fun to talk about, so it was exciting.
Yeah.
I love rentals.
And so we were in Colorado then for 3 years. We
Mhm.
were basically waiting for Dom to finish high school. So we wanted to kind of, help him launch into adulthood. And during that time, I would say the first year or so was kind of hard to go back to uh normal life. Like we were kind of in this like bubble of travel and just kind of living life on our own terms. And then all of a sudden it was like kind of thrown back into a lot more, housework, a lot more things to take care of, a lot more on the schedule. And I know I had a little bit of a hard time adjusting back to that, but it wasn't long before I realized why God had us there and just all the different things that happened in that time. And we did have, it was a rough couple of years for sure, but I'm glad we weren't in the RV for them, because a lot of the stuff and just health issues and, Knox's accident and just trying to help, Dom with navigating life and all of that. Like, I'm grateful that that all happened while we were there. I think we really needed that time. And towards the end, when we were like thinking, we're just going to get back in the RV, like that was kind of the plan, but it didn't feel like the right thing. We had heard a couple of people, like friends of ours, this person had, mold damage and they had to redo this. And this person, their transmission blew and they were like, parked on the side of the road for 2 weeks trying to fix it. And, RVs are just not
You become
real
handy real
simple.
you become handy real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not handy, you're gonna figure it out because you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be somewhere and you're gonna need to do something. So yeah, it definitely, yeah. And then I remember you had a friend who was like, oh, she like moved to Bali, Indonesia for
Yeah.
6 months or a year or whatever, and I was like, oh, I was like, and and then I remember looking at the prices of
I know. I was like,
what
we
it,
could just there. It's cheaper, I heard.
yeah. And so I
That's
looked at
no
like
joke.
I was looking at what the houses cost out there and how much it would cost, and I mean, we were paying, I don't know, 2,400 a month or something for rent in Colorado. And we were looking at beautiful, like tropical places in Bali with like a pool and like palm trees, right? And like nice weather for like 900 a month.
Mm.
And I was like, wait, hold on, you could like live there for like that? Because like what a difference that would make, on your financial table and budget and all that sort of stuff if you're able to go do that. So I was sold once I saw the prices of Southeast Asia, specifically Bali, and it was an incredible place. I mean, there's so much to do there. The culture is incredible. I mean, I hadn't been outside the United States, so I don't really know a lot about it. And when we were in the motorhome, we traveled to 26 different national parks over the course of 13 months. And I mean, we saw Yellowstone, bison. We were running around Joshua Tree, I mean, Glacier, Olympic in the rainforest. I mean, we saw so many cool places. And it was like we really went all over the United States, other than like the East Coast, we didn't get to a lot, but we beat up the West,
We'll make
dude.
it there.
And we went all over and it was so cool to explore and see all of that. So like what's it going to be like over there? Like it's going to be even cooler, I'd imagine. And so I was sold, and we had already sold everything once before and then rebought it
During
because
COVID.
during COVID, where like you
Yeah.
couldn't get like a couch. People were like, there are no couches, like they're all gone, like it was hard to like get stuff. So we went through that. And then it was again like, let's sell everything again and we'll go move out again.
We didn't sell everything. We do still have a storage unit in Fort Collins.
So we got rid of most of our stuff, but what we wanted to keep in storage. And then we headed out and we
Well,
had a bit
it
of a
was not
plan.
that easy though, because it started off where it was like, yes, we're going to Bali. This is awesome. And even Dominic was like, I'll come. And we were like, yes, then he'll, wanted to stay with us longer. And, he's 18, so he could have like left. But we were so excited about it. And then I think we were looking at it, we're like, all right, we should book our tickets. And we were able to actually book our tickets with miles that we had on our credit card. And so we got the tickets, we got one-way ticket there, and we were all set. And I kept checking with my friend. I was like, all right, when should we book those places? And she was like, oh, you don't have to do it right away. Well, then once we got to the point where I was like, all right, we should probably start looking now. And the prices had like doubled or tripled or something of accommodations. I want to say probably doubled, but they went up for sure. So we were like, okay, it's not $900 anymore. It's a little bit more. And so then we were like, wait, is this what we're supposed to do? Are we like, and we were looking at prices of food. We're like, we have no idea what prices of food are like there. Like, we don't know what to expect. And so I remember praying about it. And I have always had this dream, ever since I was younger, of like wanting to like be overseas somewhere, like helping or serving. And I've always had this, and even before I was a believer, and even as a believer, I started getting into, mission work and just really wanting to like live life on mission. So I was like, this is what we're going to do. Like, I can see it.
Bless you.
Thank you. And so I was starting to like look at it like, okay, how is God leading us into this? Like, what are we going to do there? And how are we going to? And so I just kept praying and praying for like signs, or like open the door, close the door. Like, are we doing the right thing? I mean, and like because of COVID and all that stuff, it still felt like, is it going to come back? Like, you kept like, it was a little uneasy. It was a little bit of an uneasy time. And I can't remember, something else happened. Maybe it was the war in Israel or something started. And then we were like, we're going to a predominantly Muslim country. And so we were like, are we crazy? Like, it's kind of like, that's what the journey is like when you're going after like your God-sized dreams. It's kind of like, yes, no, I'm not sure, and it's this like push and pull. And so I remember at one point in time being like, all right, God, like, you gotta like either help us find a place that works and makes sense, and all of those things, because it was starting to get like taken up, a lot of the places, or close the door so we know that we're not supposed to go there. And he just kept opening door after door, and everything just kept working out to where we just kept taking the next step forward and the next step forward. And I remember even when we were packing everything up, I mean, it was exciting, but even when we left Bourbonnais, I bawled my eyes out, like it was the closing of a chapter. And it's one of those things where it's like, you kind of have to let go of good for great, and that's not always easy. And so I think that is something that a lot of people don't talk about. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to do this great thing. And, but it's not all sunshine and roses. There is a little bit of turmoil in that. And then even when we got there, we were like, okay, so at the time, Jay was working, he still had his insurance agency. And so he would work in the middle of the night.
12 hour, it's 12-hour difference.
12
So
hours.
8 o'clock, you got to figure I would work. I would sleep, and then I would wake up at 11 at night and go to work as 11 in the morning. And then I would work throughout the morning until like 6 a.m. And then I would come home. It's at 6 p.m. And then I'd take a nap. It was kind of cool because then you had like the day, like after I woke up from my nap, 6 a.m. I wake up, maybe 11 a.m. Everybody's sleeping in the States. It's 11 a.m. and it's beautiful outside, and you can do whatever you want all day now. You have from 11 until like 5 to do whatever you want during the day, and it's not like we had yard work
Right.
or anything to take care of. So we would, go chase waterfalls, and, we met an incredible human being, Comby, shout out to Comby, out there to take us on these adventures, and show us where to go. And, and I'd come back, and the thing, we didn't even have Wi-Fi there. So it was really sketchy. So I had to like go, we rented a scooter, which was awesome. So I'd scooter over to a co-working
Awesome.
place. It was amazing. She crashed, but the scooter was amazing, and there was this really cool co-working place, and you get like an Indonesian coffee, which is just coffee inside the water and you just drink it, which is weird, but it was tasty. I would just hammer down coffees and work in the middle of the night. And one time we had an earthquake.
Oh yeah.
Uh, was it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Very good.
So basically we, got used to and started to get used to this life. And I remember at that point, because a lot of the things weren't lining up right, but what we ended up doing was we booked 2 months in Bali and then 2 months in Thailand because we realized that we were going to hit the rainy season in Bali. And so
Hmm.
that was part of the reason we were like, all right, well, we'll go to Thailand because it's like right there and it's not rainy season there. And so we had 4 months booked
Hmm.
and then we were supposed to come back. So we weren't like moving there. It
Right.
turned into like a let's test it out,
Yeah.
is kind of like what where we like backpedaled to during that time of like trying to figure things out. And so we had those 4 months booked. And then we were supposed to come back. We were supposed to do a birthday party
Yeah.
for my stepmom, and we were supposed to go to with friends to Baja in the RV. That was the
Yeah.
plan.
We're gonna go back to RV.
3 weeks into Bali, our flight back got canceled.
Mhm.
They something happened, they canceled the flight and we couldn't seem to find another flight out that made sense, or it was like expensive or it was really long, or and then all of a sudden we were like, are we sure we want to go back? Like, is that really what we want to do?
We lost the trip, lost the way back, and weren't sure which way it was going to go. So
So we started praying about it and just felt like, okay, this is maybe because what I was thinking in my head was, well, this will be good because I remember he was really like nervous about it. And I kept thinking, like, this is going to be a taste of like living life on mission and just going all in for Jesus. And he was like, you're crazy. And so I was like, this was like my way of being like, all right, like, let's just give him a taste and we'll see how it goes. And so when that got canceled, I was like, well, maybe now is the time. Maybe this is what we're supposed to do. And so we, you know, canceled the flight. We're like, all right, well, we're not coming back. We don't know when. And so we ended up staying out there. And I remember in Bali, like praying and trying to figure out, like, okay, what are we supposed to do? I want to like, serve Jesus. Like, how do we? And out there, it was very hush hush. Like the Christian churches we went to, one of them was like hidden.
underground,
It was
you
like
can't
well, it wasn't underground. It was actually above.
up
It was
up
at
on
the
the
top
top floor. But
level
yeah,
of a mall parking garage. And you took the elevator up and the door would be locked and you could hear the worship on the other side and you're like knocking and they're like, you got to go around. And so you had to like walk up the parking garage to get into this church. And I remember thinking when we were in there, like, are we in danger? Like, what is happening? And so it was such a crazy transition to, get into. And so it wasn't really, I mean, we did start to like find our footing and we, got introduced to this beautiful ministry out there and got to kind of commune with them and talk with them a little bit. But then it wasn't really until we got into Thailand that things started, like God started opening that door.
yeah, and so basically, our trip that was going to be like 3 4 months turned into a year, a little bit over a year, as we ended up going several places, the Philippines, Malaysia, more time in Thailand, and we just figured it out, and we met some incredible believers in Thailand, and it's like you go to these places and they're 99% Muslim or Buddhist, and so you don't really expect to meet anybody that's Christian or anything like that, especially as life-changing Christians as we did meet out there. We met a righteous couple. They're just incredible people. John and Jess, they were just they just meeting them just changed our
For
trajectory.
sure.
So that could be a whole nother topic.
Sure will.
But just meeting them there, and we even then started our own like small group Started going to like different churches there. And that's when we really leaned into God and was like, all right, so what can we do here? Because there were some places that you couldn't mention Jesus, and you
Yeah.
couldn't even like even if you were to like convert somebody, or talk about Jesus, and then they're like, "Oh, I want to do that now," like, and follow you guys or follow Jesus. They were like shunned from their family,
Yeah.
and they
It's
have
hard.
they have rights to their property there. Like the family like owns, like a village, for instance, and if they switch over religions or something, or claim Jesus as Lord, it's like, oh, this is no longer yours. This is no longer, you're no longer like part of our bloodline. So like you really got to tread lightly, because you don't necessarily want that for anybody either. So it's like it was a challenge to like even
Yeah.
say things, so
And actually a conversation we had too, like with a pastor in Bali that he was explaining. I was like, well, what can we do? How can we help? Like I was
yeah.
all excited and fired up. And he was like, yeah, we don't do that.
We
I
don't
was
do
like,
that.
you don't do any kind of like outreach, or, and he was like,
Yeah.
no, because of that. And so that was kind of hard. And so then once we got to Thailand
Mm.
and we started, we found this amazing church in
Amazing.
Krabi
Yep.
where it was like half English and half in Thai, and
Yeah.
the worship was half in English and half in Thai. It was my favorite. And the first time we went, sat down next to this woman who was from the US, and she was like, there's this, girls' home that needs help. It was like immediate. Like I had been praying, like, God, like, what do you want us to do? And like sat down and literally, because they did it was so sweet. They did like a luncheon every Sunday after the service and everything. And so we got connected and we were able to help, and bring the kids and help finish up the kitchen so they could start bringing girls in, to this home. And so it was just so amazing to see God open doors. And then even while we were there, we got introduced to someone else that had someone, his aunt lived in the Philippines and had an orphanage in the Philippines. And so we ended up, that was our next stop.
We also we didn't know where we were going, actually.
Yeah.
And then he's like, there's an orphanage in the Philippines that you could go to. And we're like, okay, let's go there. So like we planned our next trip around the fact that there was an orphanage there that could use help. And we started chit chatting with them. Yeah, talk to them and see what you could do and stuff. And
Yeah. And
that's how we
even
ended up over there too.
got there too, it was like, we're not like sent by any specific church or anything. And so it was very spirit led. So it was kind of like, well, what do you need? And they're like,
Yeah.
well, what do you want to do? And we were like, I don't know. And so we got there and just like had like a meet and greet and got to talk to them and get to know the kids and just pray about it. And it was so cool to see how the Lord used us in that space at that time,
Mhm.
and just helped us to, to bless them. And it was in that time that I think we, realized too, and I knew this, from being a part of missions before, that a lot of the times there's a lot of red tape around missions, and just, how you do it, and you come in and you're going to do this and that, and the people, end up cooking for you and getting all of your accommodations for you and all these different things. Well, we didn't do it like that. We went in, we had our own accommodations, we brought the food, we helped, we asked them when is a good time for us to come. We came when they had time for us. We didn't want to, be a burden on them. We
Give them,
wanted to be a
yeah, you don't
blessing.
want to give them any extra work. Sometimes it is like, oh, we're having visitors now, we've got to like put on a thing. and
Yeah.
and, and they're very like hospitable, like they want to
Mm-hmm.
like take care of you too, and it's like
Yeah.
we didn't want to be like taking care of, like, what can we do for you guys? And it was great to be able to like sit down and be like, what are your needs? Like, what can we even do? And sometimes it was just playing with the kids. Sometimes
Yeah.
it was
Doing
just
devotions with them.
doing devotions or listening to music. Sometimes it was watching, they
Korean drama.
Korean drama TV. They loved that. So we would sit down with them and watch that and hang out with them. They needed laundry detergent, for a while. There's like so many kids, you like go through a lot of laundry. Like, all right, let's take care of a bunch of laundry detergent for them. They had a tree that was like they were trying to chop down this tree with these like little machetes and everything. And I'm like, and you guys got a chainsaw? They're like, no. I'm like, this is gonna take forever. You guys are gonna whittle this tree down, like it's gonna be
We
months.
tried to help too,
You
and it
know,
was not
yeah.
going
I was like, after a couple of whacks of the machete, I'm like looking at my hand. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, let's go get a chainsaw, dude. And 7 stores later, we found the only chainsaw in the city,
yeah.
and we got it, fired it up. It was like the first time he had used a chainsaw. And I'm like, yeah, dude, here's how you do it. Show them how to use it. We were taking trees down in Bourbonnais all the time. Oh, heck yeah, dude. They were up there. We went back the next day. The tree was down. They had it down. They were making firewood with it. They used the wood to cook too. So it was so much fun. We were able to accelerate that timetable. It was fun.
Feel like really helping because they just really diving in with the kids about like mindset and kingdom mindset and thinking how God thinks of them. And we did a couple different fun activities with them to really drive that home, and got them prayer journals and taught them about like talking to God and shared our testimonies. I mean, it was just such a I honestly, I like had a hard time leaving. We're grateful we get to actually keep in touch with some of the teens on social media, which has been really sweet. And it just really, I think it blessed us more than it blessed them, to be honest. Like, I know that it was amazing, but I am so grateful for that time. And it's just opened us up to think a little bit more creatively on how we serve and how we, be the hands and feet of Jesus, around the world.
Yeah.
So anyways, we have been chatting and chatting for a while. So this is kind of how we started and how we got into full-time travel. We're currently in South America, and we're actually getting ready. We're going to do a Q&A session. A lot of people have been asking us for this for a while. So you can check that out on our YouTube channel, Life with the Marinos, and just let us know if you have any other ones. We can always do a part 2. But anything like you want to share before we wrap this up?
Um, I guess I would say sometimes there's something that you may feel called to do. And if it feels like God is putting something on your heart, you may get feedback from other people. If you share that with other people, you may get feedback of like, oh, don't do that, all this, whatever. And so I just want to encourage you to really pray through that. There's a lot of people that thought we were crazy when we decided. There was two kinds of people. There was those that were like, that's awesome, I wish we could do that. And then there were those that were like, you're nuts. You're gonna leave. Like, do you know what's going on in the world? You're gonna go to Southeast Asia right now. I'm like, yeah, I got them. It's been safer there than like parts of Florida that we've been to. Like the stigmas around all of that. Like there were areas we'd let our kids run around and they were free and the people were so kind. It was incredible. And so if God puts something on your heart, even though you get some of that, really pray about that, because there may be something. Not everybody knows what you're going through. So you don't have to listen to everybody. There's one person that you have to listen to, and he's from above.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually really common. There's a book called The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson, and he talks about it's actually a really good story. It's short. You should totally check it out. But he talks about this guy named Ordinary from the town of Familiar that goes on this God-sized journey, and there he comes across these like border bullies that are trying to convince him not to go. And some of them are, good meaning, loving family members and best friends. And, but they don't know what God's put in your heart. And so that isn't to stop you. Like, don't let that stop you, because on the other side of that obedience, there's so many blessings. And sometimes it does feel crazy. I mean, we're not like we're just regular people. We're not millionaires. We're
Yeah.
not, like we didn't go to, I mean, I didn't even grow up going to church camp, let
Yeah.
alone go to like, you know,
That's the other thing too. People would be surprised.
Bible
Like
thing.
somebody once commented, they were like, "What do you guys win the lottery? What do you guys do?" And I'm like, dude, the US is expensive. You go travel out, like there's a lot of play. You go to some beautiful places for much cheaper, and if you take away the mortgage and you take away some of those things that you're constantly pouring into, it's not that bad, really. You can
Except for South America has not been that.
South America can be rough. Yes. Do your planning ahead of time. And feel free to hit us up with questions. If you guys have questions or you're not sure like how to get started, like a lot of people will tell you you're crazy normally because they can't see themselves doing it.
Yeah.
It's too far outside their comfort zone.
Right.
So, but if you're feeling called to travel or travel full time or go RVing for 6 months or go travel another country for 3 months or whatever, ask us questions. We'd be more than happy to, share with you guys our experience, what we've come across.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you hit subscribe and leave us a review. Reach out. We love to chat with, anyone listening in. And we will be back soon.
Cheers. Ciao.